Hello, welcome to the second official video of Authentically Me UK. If you're returning, you saw my first video and you've come back to check this one out. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am super grateful to you. I would be even more grateful if maybe you could take the time to leave a comment. It would be super helpful for me to grow the channel, to perhaps if you give me some feedback around what you liked, maybe what you didn't like, what wasn't helpful, as I say, so I can continue to improve, to build this community for us all, hopefully. If you're new to Authentically Me UK, a warm welcome to you also. There is another video around here somewhere, which I think perhaps it would be helpful to go and check out because that will help you with the context. But to save you doing that right now, a quick recap for you. I had a total hip replacement in 2023. I've also worked in adult social care for over 20 years as a social worker. So I combined my skills with who I am as a person, in order to manage my journey of joint replacement surgery as a younger adult. As I explained in the first video, one of my wellbeing tools was a personal vlog, where I would just sort of speak to myself on a regular basis with a view to kind of managing my emotions and just talking stuff through. However, this what began as a younger adult's guide to joint replacement surgery, ultimately dipped into all kinds of areas, specifically mental health, as a series of life events kind of knocked me, and I charted that also. And I guess what it became was a raw personal exploration of the yin and yang of life. And so when I look back on it, I realized that I had a lot of content that actually was real. It wasn't it filtered or imaged or presented in the way that I would choose. It was authentically me. And so that's kind of the concept behind it. For today's video, what I would really, really like to do is kind of expand more on the joint replacement surgery. And so I'm going to talk about my environment and the aids and adaptations and the assessments that I completed and were completed by my medical team, to support me through certainly the first 1 to 4 weeks of post-operative surgery, just maintaining activities of daily living around my house. So that's the plan. I'm going to show images, some of which I bought, some of which I didn't. We're super lucky here in the UK. I feel lucky to have the National Health Service. So they lent me things like a toilet frame, elbow crutches, grabber sticks, and I was able to return those when I no longer needed them to the NHS to repurpose to someone else. So, but other bits I did buy. So I've got visual images, and I'm just going to talk through what was helpful and what wasn't helpful. And I guess the reason for doing that is I'm not giving you a shopping list to say, oh, you must have this. Ultimately, I think it's fast going to become a slogan of Authentically in the UK that when it comes to mental and physical health, one size does not fit all. So as always, cherry pick, take what you want, leave what you don't. My best hope is that the very least, if you are planning an op or live with mobility issues that impact on your day to day, I guess that I hope it will give you a little bit of time to sort of engage that part of your brain and maybe think about, what does my environment look like? What does my support networks look like? What might be helpful to me? Are any of Marina's suggestions helpful to me? Or actually, does it just confirm that no, actually, I think this is right for me, that isn't? And actually, I've got it pretty much going on. I don't need these tips. And that in itself sometimes can be super reassuring. So I am firmly in danger of wittering now. I do that quite a lot. Might as well let that out now. But without further ado, today's topic is aids and adaptations to support you through post-operative surgery, joint replacement specifically, or indeed if you have some mobility issues, there may be some tips and discussion points for you. I'd be super grateful if you would do the likey, scribey, commenty thing. As I've said before, it'd be really nice to get to know you all, and to grow Authentically Me into a wellbeing community that we can all look to learn and grow. And have a laugh at times, and get to know one another. So, okay, stop, Marina. Just stop talking.
The first place to start when considering aids and adaptations is to consider your environment. So take a look around your own space, have a look at your home, and give some thought to your environment and what the practicalities might be, what the strengths and what the barriers might be. So to give an example of that, I live in a little two up and two down with the hubster. Our son is grown away now with a family of his own, so we have the luxury of a spare room. So in planning for my joint hip replacement surgery, I made a decision that post-op I was going to move into our spare bedroom. And my reasons for doing that are multifold really, but partly because one of the considerations is my husband is self-employed. He works very hard in construction, and it was important to me that he had some space and had a good rest. Whilst he was planning to take that initial week with me, ultimately he does have to work. I also, as a social worker, feel incredibly passionate about informal carers. Informal carers often step into the role not because it's a skill based or it's something they're extremely passionate to do, it's because they love the person who needs help, and so that can be a very stressful situation. And so I really wanted to factor that in and have some awareness that, informal caring can be very stressful. So caring for someone, after they've initially had surgery. So that was the thinking there. That then led on to support, think about your support networks, who's around you, who might help. If you don't have support around you, then now might be the time to think about looking into your local area about what resources are available to me, asking your health practitioners, if I need help after the event, who might be available to me. So it's always good to ask the question, even if you'd never need to use the answer, is my advice to you. Anyhow, so I'm very lucky. I have an excellent support network, and my lovely mum was going to step into the role of primary carer for me for those initial few weeks after surgery when I was going to need the most help. A girl is never too old to need her mummy, and that is certainly the case for me. I mean, they were a great team, but yeah. So that was my support. However, again, drawing on my social work knowledge, I didn't want my mum tearing around my house looking for stuff. And so the luxury of a pre-op, of knowing, having a planned operation is obviously you get to prepare. So in the spare room that I intended to move in to, I emptied the drawers, put bedding in one, personal care in the other, a lot of underwear, a lot of dry shampoo, a lot of wet wipes, deodorant, combs, brushes, easy things to wear, lots of changes of t-shirts and nighties rather than pajamas, just things that I could wear loosely and I could manage myself if I really needed to. So that was the thought I was given. So tracksuit bottoms rather than anything tight or that I have to zip and button. If you think that you're going to be on sort of double elbow crutches and then you really need to get to the toilet and you're feeling slightly anxious and it's all very new. And so I was very aware of my experience from working with others who have been in this situation and having the good fortune to have worked with them in my professional life and learn from them also, to put that into practice and really give that time to what do I need to make things life easier for everyone concerned. So that's environment. Okay. Staying with the environment, as my operation was scheduled for the summer here in the UK, and I was also feeling the fear of not being on HCT anymore and the dreaded night sweats returning, given the break that I needed from it for the operation, the first thing on my shopping list was the standing fan with a remote control. Hindsight, however, what I learned, tower fans are as tall as the bed, but not the person lying on them. So actually I wouldn't buy a fan again for someone who's planning to be lying down at a height higher than the fan can reach. And it always feels a little bit dodgy to me when you start putting things on top of things. So I think the key here to independence, choice and control is the remote control and being able to control your temperature. You probably have much snazzier ways of doing it, maybe setting up smart gadgets on your phone for heating or wherever the season is for you. But yeah, first thing on the list was a fan. Simple as that. on a similar theme, nightlight, with, you guessed it, remote control. Oh, if only life came with a remote, right? Um, just for fun, I tend to call our remote control the flippery dippery when I'm, obviously demanding the husband give it to me when I'm in slob mode. Please tell me there is someone else out there that nicknames their remote something other than the remote, particularly as I've chosen flippery dippery like much longer. Yeah, that's me. Anyway, I worded that very carefully. You'll notice, like, really kind of chose those words out because I nearly said, "What do you call yours?" and that made me blush. So, anywho, moving swiftly on. This is the actual light on screen that I bought. It is lovely. I would definitely buy it again. It was really useful. It's got those lovely different modes. Obviously, it's got the remote. Can't talk about that enough. I've got a bit of an obsession, I realise. Doesn't get hot, which is really important. So I was able to like carry it around the bed as I was mobilising. It made me feel really safe. It charges really quickly. I'm not sponsored by this lamp company, I promise, although I really think I should be, actually. How do you send this stuff over? And that is likely more than enough that anybody ever needs to hear anyone say about a lamp that they bought for under 20 quid with a remote control. Oh, except to say it does leave on because my granddaughters love it. So yeah, super useful. Definitely recommend this one. Okay, to my least favourite piece of equipment. Probably the most useful, but my least favourite, the toilet frame. So the picture that I'm showing is pretty much the same as the frame that I received. So the provision of a toilet frame, as I said earlier, was provided by the NHS for me. It arrived, I'd already given the measurements, as I said, in my assessments, so it arrived all adjusted. It really just had to fit around my toilet. With our big old plastic seat in the middle. Now, clearly, the idea behind this is making sure that your transfers, as we call that, so that's sit to stand. So when I'm sitting down and getting on and off the toilet, same thing for yourself, that you're doing that in a safe way and using your sort of upper body to support you, just to make sure that you're not putting your body into a position that would impact on the recovery of the hip. And that you're safe and you're not going to have a fall. So that's the idea around a toilet frame. I have to say that it was super annoying for both the hubster and I. We only have one toilet in our house, one bathroom, one toilet, and our bathroom is the size of a postage stamp. So having this thing in it wasn't really nice. It wasn't really nice for him to use. Taking it in and out was more of a hassle. I have to be honest, I did remove it, hoping that I could get rid of it sooner rather than later. But I found that I was sort of flopping a bit. It wasn't correct. I knew it wasn't correct. So I reluctantly put it back and didn't return it to until I no longer needed it. I can assure you that the moment I no longer needed it, that call was made. And the other thing that I feel very passionately about is obviously resources and funding. And if you borrow any equipment, I always try to give it back, even if I didn't buy it. So someone donated me an extra pair of elbow crutches, for example, which I'll explain the reasons why in a video shortly. But I gave those back because the person didn't need them, and we all need to do what we can to support our public services. All right, now, so there you go, the dreaded toilet frame. Okay, so as I build and edit this video, I am beginning to realise that there is such thing as being too helpful, and listing all of these aids and adaptations individually is probably going to get pretty boring pretty quickly. So I'm going to skip through the others, kind of put the pictures together in a quicker way and chat less, which I can do occasionally. So I will flick it through. But if there's anything that you think, oh, I listened to all of that and the one thing I was interested in she didn't discuss further, then please pop your questions in the comments and I will do my best to answer everyone, which I guess will be you. Anyway, let's leave that there. There are two bits though. So my other genius item that I do need to talk about individually because I think it is genius. And the second thing is I do have to tell you a quick story about a sock aid because my husband has lodged a formal complaint, and yeah, he really wants me to tell you that I'm a terrible wife in respect of a sock aid. I'll leave that there, shall I, for a moment? So there are a couple of buys that well, I considered were actually sheer genius, and one of them was this pregnancy pillow. Now, I need to stress I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not entirely sure what a physio or occupational therapist's view of this pregnancy pillow is. But hey, I used it, and I still love it actually. So, what my view as someone who lives with arthritis is actually, the one thing that we all know if you live with arthritis, that sleep origami is a skill base because you can never get comfy, frankly. And this has been an absolute, oh, yeah, lifesaver to me at times, particularly when I've been struggling with pain, struggling to get comfy. Extra little pack to it is obviously I'm a grandma, so when my youngest granddaughter was tiny, it felt really safe to kind of snuggle her into that when she was with me and taking a nap also. So it still lives on. Not sure I'd buy it again. It's a bit clunky, but I need to wean myself back to sleeping without aids actually, and that in itself can be a battle, which I will come on to later. So yeah, pregnancy pillow. Let me know your thoughts. So I've worked with occupational therapists and physiotherapists for many, many years in my career. And the one thing that fills me with fear when I'm around my lovely physio or OT colleagues is my habit of crossing my legs. Now, I don't know if you know any physios and OTs, or whether, if you do, have you noticed that it's somehow when you cross your legs, an OT's face takes on a certain frown, and you just know what they're thinking. It's a bit like when they see a rug on a polished wood floor. You just know what they're thinking. OMG, typically. And so just before I came out of work, I had the opportunity to catch up with an old manager, somebody I respect very much, and he is an OT by profession. And one of the things he said to me was, do not cross your legs after surgery. And, it is a habit, and it was a real risk for me and something I was very worried about. What I was particularly worried about was crossing my legs when I was asleep or not being aware, or under sedation from the pain meds. So foam roller. I racked my brains, and eventually I was lying flat on my back with this foam roller in between my legs, and it meant I got the peace of mind of knowing that it wasn't going to be very easy for me to fall back into that habit of crossing my legs. So if you're an OT and a physio, let me know about my foam roller technique placed on the mattress between your legs to avoid crossing your legs. Or whether that was overkill, probably, knowing me. But there you go. Genius, right? It is. So the image that I'm showing you on the screen now is called a sock aid. Now, for what it's worth, I think they're more trouble than they're worth. It's a bit hit and miss, and I really struggled with it. However, I do understand if it's your only option, there's an act to it. Here's why I had to show it on its own. So when I first bought all my aids and adaptations and kitted out my lovely room, applying all my social work knowledge, I bought a sock aid as part of a long-handled pack of grabbers and sponges and things, and so just aids to support me. And I had it hung on the bedroom door of what was now my bedroom. My husband came to visit me in my room, and he looked at this sock aid and initially asked me if it was a sex toy. We'll leave that alone. And when I explained what it was, looked at me in absolute horror and said, we have been together for 25 years. For 20 of those years, I've had chronic back pain, and at times I haven't been able to get out of bed, and I certainly haven't been able to put my socks on. My wife, the experienced qualified social worker, knows all about these wonderful aids. When she needs a new hip, in they come. Where was my sock aid 20 years ago when I needed one? He's really in his feelings about this, I've got to tell you. So I'm going to have to make this one up somehow along the lines. So there you have it, a sock aid. Hi, just wanted to flip back to me to say a warm goodbye. I hope you found this video helpful. I did just want to leave you with a funny story about personality traits, I suppose. So I've shared with you quite a lengthy video about the planning that I use for my pre-op. So given that we clearly have some dodgy bone genes in this family, my brother has also had a joint replacement. Now, without sharing too much of his stuff, being the fabulous, wonderful, great, amazing little sister that I am, I sent him like War and Peace on what to do. So this video kind of condensed in a really helpful, loving message about, you know, you've got this, because I went first. And my the response I got back from him was about 3 lines and said something along the lines of, "You know me, sis. I'm not going to plan. I'm going to rock up, get it done, and take it from there." So I think that's you know, as I said about cherry picking. So there's me, like, you know, social working the life out of him. He's like, "Yeah, no, I'll just wing it. It's fine." And I guess that works, you know, whatever works for you. That's the message. All right, now till the next time, I'll be back with you.